So, a liberal arts professor wrote an article on The Hill titled Lawmakers Should Begin Cracking Down on Hate Speech. Now, I already recorded pretty much an entire video on this, and it was too long, and I'm starting over and just simplifying this a lot more. But I'm just going to skip straight to the end, honestly, because the whole thing, you know the whole drill already. It's all, oh, hate speech, the alt-right, oh my god, white supremacy, nationalism, all that, Charlottesville. I'm going to skip like 3/4 of the way through and go straight to the end, and we're going to have to go through that. I'm just going to go to the last 2 paragraphs here. She says, but what this citizen-centric approach, she's talking about communities dealing with free speech and hate speech and all that, but what this community-centric approach fails to take into account is the United States' history of violent racism, and the fact that this violence isn't just a part of our past. Our nation's laws need to catch up to our contemporary moment where hate groups are increasingly armed, violent, and unapologetic. Unbridled hate speech has led to violent, racially motivated murders by white supremacists in Charleston, Portland, and Maryland over the past couple of years. We must be willing to address the fact that hate speech promulgated this violence, and we need to be willing to work together to come up with solutions at levels beyond our local communities. So she's talking about how to deal with hate speech. She's just saying, oh, hate speech has caused this, hate speech has caused that, hate speech is causing all these issues. Well, of course, it's the actions coming from the hate speech, and that's if we assume it's coming from the hate speech. But then her solution is, again, if we give her that the whole, what these people are saying is, yes, we need, what people are saying is, yes, we need genocide, we need murder and all that, which honestly, I see very little, practically none of, except on sites like maybe the Daily Stormer, but especially not in the rallies like Charlottesville. But what she's assuming is that if hate speech is there, the solution is to get rid of it. Whereas it seems to me that the solution is just more free speech. That always seems to be the solution, because once you start cracking down on a subjective thing like hate speech, eventually everything's going to be hate speech. Everything I don't like will be hate speech. Everything you don't like will be hate speech, and none of us will be able to talk, and it'll be terrible. As far as I can tell, the United States is the last bastion of free speech in the world, and we cannot give an inch on this. Just take into example, if you need an example of why, hey, more free speech is better than cutting down on hate speech, take that guy, I'll show it right here in the video version. There was that the black guy that befriended like a ton of KKK members and got a lot of them to leave. He was just like, hey, I'm a nice guy, and literally debunked their arguments, had them faced with either this guy is bad or this guy is good and I'm wrong in this group. And that's what they did. They left the group. They were like, okay, well, this guy's a nice guy, and if being part of this group means I have to hate him, then no. He did the nicest thing possible. He befriended his enemies and made them his friends, and they stopped being his enemy. That's wonderful. Why can't we have more of that? Why can't we have more articles about that? But anyway, last paragraph. Although this is a contentious and complex issue, there is no reason why our democratic institutions cannot develop guidelines for criminalizing hate speech. We already restrict speech in cases of libel, fighting words in professional settings, and with regard to commerce. If we truly believe in the importance of free speech, then we must be willing to have these conversations and protect ourselves from the harms of hate speech, not just the immediate harms to individual people or groups, but the harms to democracy itself. Her argument here is because we already have laws on other types of speech, we're okay to have laws on hate speech as well. And I would disagree with that. No, we shouldn't have laws on other kinds of speech. And laws about, like, workplace, what you can say in the workplace. I disagree with those laws. You know what? Because it's the workplace. You're in an employed environment. Let the employer decide. If he wants, like, just anything goes, chances are he's going to lose a lot of good employees because they're going to say, screw that, I might not want to work here. And of course, if there's harassment going on, then you fire the employee. If the employee is still is still harassing, and the employer refuses to fire that employee, then you leave, get a better job where there aren't people going around harassing you. I disagree with the idea that we already have laws against certain types of speech, therefore we need more. No, I disagree with that entirely. Especially I've seen the yelling fire in a crowded theater argument. I disagree with that. You get rid of the law saying you can't say fire in a crowded theater. people aren't going to start saying fire in a crowded theater. You know why? Because the theaters are going to say, okay, new rule. You disrupt the theater, you're never allowed to come back. That'll stop the thing in its tracks. We never needed a law. The end. That's a whole different kind of speech argument. But we cannot give up even slightly when it comes to free speech. And I mean that. We cannot give up at all. Because if you've been paying attention to what's going on at all, like, everything is hate speech. These free speech rallies are called, like, are being accused of being hate speech. Have you been to these rallies? The one which was accused of being, I think it was Boston, was accused of being like a white nationalist rally or something. And it was the Indian guy, Shiva for Senate. He was talking. There was a Black Lives Matter sign there. I believe Joe Biggs was there. These people are calling anything hate speech, which, if we're ever going to put laws on speech, now is not the time. I don't think ever's the time, but especially not now. Because you know what? If I wanted, all I could do, I could just wrap up here if I wanted. I could wrap up this article and saying, well, some people are going to say what I've said is hate speech, but screw them. My channel could get deleted because of hate speech. I don't know. But I could just say this article is hate speech. I am personally very much offended by this article. It should get removed. I'm going to file a formal complaint. I'm totally triggered. I have to take a minute to lie down. So thank you for watching.